Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. We are on verse 9 of Valli 2. Everybody has that page, whoever has a book. One of you can declare the page.
It's page 88, chapter 1 and verse 9.
So, just to recap, we had done this 8 last time, and it had said the English translation was, this when taught by a man of inferior intellect is not easy to be known, as it is to be taught by various ways, but when it is taught by another, means a superior perceptor or guru, who is one with Brahman, who beholds no difference, means he's already self-realized. There is no other way of concerning it, meaning the person, the student, if he's ready, he will get it. That's what it means. If it is done by a person who is knowledgeable about Shastras and who has the experience. The self being subtler than the subtlest and is beyond argumentation. And it's saying कि खाली तर्क से, खाली argumentation से ये नहीं मिल सकता है. खाली बुद्धि के क्या बोलते हैं, आगे पीछे तर्क करने से ये नहीं मिलता. So those were the main thing. The same idea he's also repeating again, because Swamiji has a long commentary on it, because he really wants us to understand कि हम बुद्धि से इसको नहीं पकड़ पाएंगे. But unfortunately, that's the only tool we think we have, because we don't know anything beyond. तो हम हर समय उसको बुद्धि से ही पकड़ने का प्रयत्न करते हैं. But he's going to show you how. So end में हम लोग को क्या करना चाहिए, we have to literally give up and surrender, and then it sinks in, So it's a little bit hard, because we are so trained to use our buddhi the whole time. But buddhi se you can intellectually samajhna also is very important, but it cannot take you there. That's what is basically trying to tell you. So it's okay to understand with buddhi, but up to a point. उसको एकदम क्या बोलते हैं ना, shred मत कर दो बुद्धि से, because उसमें कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला है फिर end में, So up to a point it's okay. Beyond that it just becomes detrimental. Just if you can remember that, then that will be good. And the other thing that Tejomanaji brought a very important point. He said, even the interest in this thing, you cannot get it by arguing and tark or logic. Because that he said even in the worldly sense, we have all the logic why we should do something and not do something, right? हम लोग को सब मालूम है intellectually, but honestly हम लोग आधे टाइम करते भी नहीं है. So that means logic doesn't work even in our worldly things. It doesn't work after a while, because you may know that this thing is really detrimental to eat, and for me, but I still go and eat it. So then it doesn't work, And the other point he said that even like he was saying that the interest in this subject is not a matter of argumentation. It comes because you have done some sadhana and then you just get interested that way, and it's like a blessing of the guru almost. Because remember in the earlier part of this, what we were doing, Nachiketa ended up at his door, and then they were having this conversation. And then in one verse, when Yamraji gave him a special garland or something, remember? Extra gift he gave. So Tejamayanand ji ne mention kiya tha ki actually wo gift mein na, it was a grace of the guru he gave him. That's how he explained. वो grace से उसमें एकदम आग सी लगे, I need to know this. He just called it Guru's. I thought that was a very nice way he put it. That Guru के grace से ये inquisitiveness आया उसमें कि I must know this, and he became like this. So सभी बोलते हैं ना कि वर्ल्डली सेंस में भी हम लोग बोलते हैं कंपनी अच्छी रखो, राइट? इसीलिए तो बोलते हैं कि उसके संस्कार थोड़े हमारे पर रब हो जाएंगे, देन हम भी थोड़ा आगे बढ़ेंगे. सो यू कैन लुक एट इट विच एवर वे यू वांट टू. एंड द अदर इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग दैट तेजो मेहनन जी मैंशनड इज, एक बार किसी को कन्विंस हो गया ना कि आई वांट टू फॉलो दिस पैथ एंड गॉड इज देयर, एंड ऑल दैट, फिर कोई कितना भी तर्क आके तुमको करेगा, तर्क से वो तुम्हारा ये माइंड सेट चेंज नहीं कर सकता. बिकॉज दुनिया में लोग आते हैं, नास्तिक लोग एंड ऑल दैट, ओ व्हाट गॉड दिस थिंग दैट इफ यू, अदरवाइज क्या होता है कि अदर साइड ऑफ द कॉइन इज कि तुमने थोड़ी निष्ठा हो गई तुमको भगवान में वगैरह, फिर कोई नास्तिक आके कुछ बोलने लगा, फिर ओ यार यू आर राइट, देयर इज नो गॉड, वैसा भी होता है कि पीपल चेंज. एंड देन ऑल्सो थर्ड थिंग आई वाज थिंकिंग इज, you have a lot of faith, you say, oh, I believe in God and all that. Some tragedy happens in your life, some bad things, and all of a sudden people say, I don't believe in God anymore. What God? It's weakness. So all that is part of this, कि this is something beyond logic. Logic से इसको समझाया नहीं जा सकता, And then in this verse, another thing is that Yamraj is telling him कि you are established in that truth. Means you are so, it almost like telling him you got it already, And the reason he's saying that is because हम लोग ने पढ़ा कि अगर एक काबिल गुरु आ जाए और एक काबिल शिष्य आ जाए जिसने सब कुछ तैयार करके रखा हुआ है, तो एक्सचेंज एकदम फटाफट होएगा, लाइक सो दोनों जब आ गए तो जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि क्या बोलते हैं, माचिस और आग आएगी तो सॉरी वो आएगी, क्या बोलते हैं, तिल्ली और दिस थिंग, एंड यू घसो, बूम, फायर इज गोना कम आउट. सो दैट्स हाउ इट इज. It's like unavoidable that this he's going to get the Atma Gyan. So he's predicting almost, hey, you are already established in the truth. He's giving him compliment. He's so overwhelmed कि भाई, मेरे को मिल गया कोई शिष्य. And then another point that Tejo Myananji brought was that it's like he already had the sanskar in him, the Nachiketa. All he needed was the right guru. And, we have discussed in the Vivek Chudamani also, they talk about it, and we have discussed in this class, when you are ready, God will send a guru. So just you can look at it this way. Nachiketa was totally ready. Boom. He's standing in front of Yamraji, who's self-realized and who can teach him that, And then the last part was that he said ki Yamraji says, oh, may everybody kind of get this kind of student, because यहाँ पर भी प्रोफेसर बैठे हैं. If you get a great student, you feel so good कि भाई जो भी मैंने सीखा हुआ है मैं उसको बता सकती हूँ अभी, वो समझेगा मेरी बात, So जैसे तुम्हारा सार्थक हो गया पढ़ना, that's how this is. So he was talking about the Taittiriya Upanishad. If you have heard, there's one Taittiriya Upanishad, उसमें एक श्लोक है कि may good disciples come to us from all directions. This is the wish of the person, and that's why all these gurus and all that who have self-realized, they go in the world and they try to spread that knowledge, because now they have got everything. They want others to benefit from it. That is their only goal, or like doing it for lok sangraha or harmony in the people or bringing them up. So this is basically the same idea, but it is a very important one. That's why he's saying it again one more time. That's how you have to look at it. Adding a little bit of more masala in it, appreciating an etiquette a little more, basically. And again, this is tells us more like a glory of Brahma Vidya. So we appreciate the Brahma Vidya. That's another reason that this is happening. Okay, who would like to read? Anybody? Geeta ji, would you like to read?
Did you do the Sanskrit? Okay.
I didn't. No, I didn't. Okay, Geeta, you can. Would you like to read, Geeta?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll do the Sanskrit and then you can read. Naisha तर्केण मतिरापनेया प्रोक्ता न्येनैव सुज्ञानाय प्रेष्ट यां त्वमापः सत्यधृति बर्तासि त्वांग नो भूयानचिकेतः पृष्टा. No, Esha is not this. Tarkena, by mere argumentation or mere logic. That's another way of looking at it. Matihi is knowledge about Atma. Apaneya is attainable. So this is not attainable merely by logic. Prokta said, Anyena by another, Eva indeed, Sugnanaya by easy comprehension. Preshtaha, dear one, Yam, that, Tvam, you. Apaha is have obtained. Satya dhruti, fixed in the truth. So this is what I was telling you about that, how he's saying that you're already fixed in the truth. Because he has so much faith in it, so much shraddha in it. This is it, Batasi is you, Twaduk like you, Na is to us, Phuyat may he be, Nachiketa, oh Nachiketa, Prashta, the inquiries. Prashta is a person who is like a seeker, who wants to learn. And now you can read, Geeta ji.
This knowledge which thou hast obtained is not obtainable by argumentation. It is easy to understand it, O dearest, when taught by a teacher who beholds no difference between oneself and another. Thou hast obtained it now. Thou art fixed in truth. May we have, O Nachiketa, an inquirer like thee. This is probably the first time when Lord Death, who has, all along, been choked with appreciation for his great disciple, has come to compliment the boy quite directly. As a corollary to the previous two stanzas, Lord Death states that truth is not a theme that can be reached or understood by a play of the intellect. Mere reasoning can cover only the frontiers of the world of objects. The land of truth lies extended beyond the frontiers of the mind and the intellect.
So everybody understood that part, right? Something transcendental we are talking about, which is beyond mind. That's why you cannot grasp everything by the mind.
We have already seen during our discussions of the mantras of the
Kathoupanishad.
That the reality in us, the spark of life, is the controller and the prompter behind the mere dead matter envelopments around, called our mind and intellect. In fact, they are insentient and inert. The dead matter that constitutes them gains a verisimilitude of life when they are in contact with the all-dynamic life center in us called the Atman. This divine spark vitalizes the mind and the intellect, and it is only then that they function through their evident feelings and willings.
So that big word, uska matlab hai likelihood, So Swamiji was a journalist, so that's why his mastery over the language is very high. He uses all these words that we have to sit with dictionary, but that's okay. So and the other thing I wanted to say, remember that one word, Miraji, I could not remember and I kept getting stuck. F-E-F-E. It's Epiphany. No, again I got stuck. I can't say it. Epiphany. What is it? Tell me, Geeta.
It's pronounced Epiphany.
Epiphany. Yeah. Epiphany.
It's pronounced Epiphany.
Epiphany. See, हम लोग अभी भी अटकते हैं. And इसका मतलब होता है sudden realization of something, right? That's what it means. Some higher knowledge. And that's what happened to that fellow when he was in his spaceship and he saw Earth, Moon, and Sun all at once. And he said he had the Epiphany. Epiphany. Okay.
Yes. So what is the meaning of words? Very similitude. क्या बोला था आपने?
Likelihood.
Okay.
Okay. So basically he's telling you this real fact of real and unreal, or matter and consciousness. He's saying matter has no existence of its own. अगर consciousness के पीछे नहीं हो, it's a dead matter. So अगर हमारी बॉडी और माइंड और इंटेलेक्ट है, वो हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, वी आर अलाइव बिकॉज the consciousness is functioning through it. That's why. So one of the confusion that people have is we have a gross body and subtle body. और उसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं और संस्कृत में बोलते हैं स्थूल शरीर और सूक्ष्म शरीर. Gross and subtle. So our body that we can see with our 5 indriyas and all that, that's gross. But there is another aspect in us which is subtle that we cannot grasp with these indriyas as such, and that is our mind. Nobody has seen the mind, but we know we have it. Correct? And all the feelings in it, we cannot, if somebody says love, I cannot take the love out, put in a box. It's something more subtle. But even that is inert. It took a long time for us to kind of accept that, but that's the truth. Mind is a subtle matter only. But it gets enlivened by the consciousness. And the way our teacher explained, and that really explained very well, or kind of Chinmayananji explained this. You take a ice cube. It has a definite shape. It is like a solid thing that you can even hold and you can see and everything, right? And its shape is there of ice cube. Now you melt it, start giving heat. So in the beginning it will melt, it will become subtler than before. Then, it will become water and it will spread and take the shape of the vessel it is in. You continue to heat, what will happen? भाप बन जाएगा वो. And वो सूक्ष्म बन जाएगा. अब है, you cannot say the water is completely gone. It has gone in the atmosphere, it exists. But I can't see it. That is called a subtle matter. Our mind is like that. It's made up of matter, but it's subtle, but it's enlivened by the consciousness. And that is why that consciousness is beyond even the subtle matter. That's why you cannot catch it with mind. So he's giving a reason why you cannot do it. And the other way to look at it is that all the other things are finite things. You cannot grasp infinite with the finite. So then, am I wasting my time? What am I doing? So then saints and sages will say, no. What you have to do is, you have to become infinite. So and the Swamiji, because I'm doing the translation, he gave such a beautiful example. He said that only ocean can know the ocean, not the river. And then he explained. He said, all the rivers go in the ocean. They do or not, right? But they don't know the ocean because they are still going. But when they pour into the ocean, what becomes of them? गंगा एक बार गंगा सागर में चली गई, फिर वो गंगा थोड़ी रह जाती है. It becomes sagar. I thought that was such a beautiful explanation that he gave, that how only an infinite can know infinite, so finite can never know, and he's telling you why. So this is a little bit complicated, but just put the idea into your mind, and now you can yourself think about it, Go ahead.
Since the Atman is thus the director of the mind and intellect, it is obvious that they, being mere instruments, cannot of themselves come to discover the energy behind them. However smart we may be in seeing with our eyes, we cannot see our own eyes with our eyes. However tired you may be, you cannot ride for a yard upon yourself. Okay. Similarly, the mind and the intellect cannot make truth an object for their observation and analysis. The moment the truth is detached from the observing mind and the analyzing intellect, the poor mind and the intellect become inert and dead. A driver cannot be run over by the very car he is driving. The moment the driver is out of his driving seat and runs towards the front of the car, the wheels stop. Similarly, the Atman, the vitalizer and director of the intellect, when removed from its place and brought before to be analyzed by the intellect, it is an object for its analysis. The intellect becomes dead. Hence, Lord Death says, this knowledge is not to be obtained by arguments.
So he's just taking you to a very deeper level of what it means. You cannot get it by logic, but because he's saying it's the best way to remember this is it is the power behind all of us, whatever we are doing. It is the energy or boldo, power boldo. That's why I cannot objectify it. And the other very good example is of a flashlight. The flashlight has a battery behind it, and the flashlight says, I want to see the battery. Suppose it's just hypothetical, okay? So then you remove the battery from the flashlight, he cannot see because it lost its seeing power. That's what they're saying. That is one very good example. Other one is the best one. Can we see our own eyes? When we see in the mirror, we are seeing reflection. We are not seeing the eye. It is quite a thing that we cannot see our own eyes because we are behind it. I am behind my eyes. That's what he's saying. So these are all more like contemplative things, but it's just telling you.
If the ordinary instruments of knowledge, such as the mind and the intellect, cannot discover the truth, we are not to conclude that the entire Vedika literature is discussing a covetable but unrealizable goal. An unending line of masters of God realization expressing their own intimate subjective experience of the divinity that is all-pervading are the various Upanishads which form the third book of each Ved. Even in our own time and in recent history, we have brilliant examples of God-men who lived with us, mortals in form, but immortal gods in spirit.
So this is very important. Mortals in form, but immortal gods in spirit. So he's saying that this knowledge, now you say, oh, am I ever going to get it? So he said, rest assured. ये जो गुरु शिष्य परंपरा है ना, अपनी वहाँ से चली आ रही है, हिमालय से जो भी, उसमें चलती रहेगी. And it is Vivekananda's declaration. Even if there is one self-realized person left on this earth, he can kindle that fire for other people. So this is never going to go away. It will always be there. And he's just telling that, don't worry, that they are the people, because we learned that people who are like that, they are the ones who can teach us also. That's why we read their commentaries and we just try to stick with that only, Shankaracharya, Chinmayanandji and all that, and the other saints and sages who are around. And that's why a lot of us, we all come from different, gurus and all that, but we are still connecting with it, because this has been told by such people.
This self-realization in not an impossibility, I think should be is not.
Yeah, you're right. It should be is. Huh?
Yeah. Okay. Rather, to realize the godhood that now lies dormant in each one of us is the heritage of man. This embodied existence as man is fulfilled only with this superb achievement. From the eggshells of our limitations, we can, through a scientific process of self-purification and growth, grow out into the stature and dimension, might and power, wisdom and perfection of God. Sorry?
I think somebody's, maybe Premji's,
No.
it's not, huh? No, it's okay.
Reaching this state of perfection is the accomplishment of the goal, the evolution. And man is great in the sense that he alone has the instruments necessary and the powers of application required for hastening nature's own process of evolution.
So he's just encouraging us. He firstly saying, it is in each one of us. So it is not like, hey, how will I get it? No, all of us have the possibility. And human beings, we have all the instrument necessary, he's saying. So it's like, no, koi bhana nahi chalega. That's what basically he's saying. Like if you are in the animal yoni, you are programmed life, They just have 3-4 things that they just do the whole life. And that's why Swamiji used to say that, a million years ago also मकड़ी को क्या बोलते हैं इंग्लिश में, the spider, it makes the same web. But look at the housing that we made these days. If you compare it, so humans are like, we've been given so many great instruments, and you can use them to move forward in this. And then he gave the whole process.
If this perfection is achievable, what is the import of Lord Death's words that truth cannot be known by the intelligence? This inability of our intelligence is explained in the second half of the first line, that it is to be thought of in various ways. If we bring into the realm of philosophy only our gross intellect to conceive and to visualize, there can be as many different conclusions as there are heads that come to play upon this question.
So he's just telling you that there are so many different ways you can approach it. And I think one analogy I liked so well, that you take a circle, okay? Abhi now, and you have a dot in the middle, right? And the circumference is there. How to reach that dot from the circumference? There are like hundreds of ways. जहाँ से खड़े हो वहाँ से जा सकते हो, right? तो सभी पहुँच सकते हैं. I love that analogy. So we should never ever have this attitude कि भाई एक ही रास्ता है बस. No. It can be thought of in many different ways. It can be approached in many different ways. As long as you are moving, if you think about that analogy, as long as the person is moving towards the dot, he will reach. So that's why when people sit and argue about, oh, yehi hai, wohi hai, and then you're just wasting your time. That's all he's saying, that it can be all different ways. That's how it is.
Nachiketa has stood all the trials and has been found to be the fittest candidate for instructions in Vedanta, and as such, Lord Death says, you have already reached the goal of Brahma Vidya, although even the first lecture on the topic has not yet been given out. The actual delay in self-realization is only in gaining by ourselves, for ourselves, the required inner purification. If once this is gained, and the seeker is thus completely conditioned, the actual flight into the realms of experience in Godhood is but an efficient gliding through a thrilled silence of self-discovery.
So this concept has been explained in many different ways, in many different analogy. The only thing in our hand is to purify our mind. And as you purify, you automatically glide into it. And the 2-3 examples that Swamiji gave, I will share it and I'll make it clear. He said, sleep. We can never force sleep to come. We can only create the atmosphere to sleep. We can, change our clothes into, night clothes and then make it dark, lie down and all that, and the sleep comes. Same way, you keep purifying. And the other example is a little bit crazy example, but he said that after a certain point, the other side takes over and you don't have to do anything. And the way he explained it, he said ki law of gravity hai, right? He's saying that law of gravity is already there. You have to just make yourself available to it. So you just, you climbed on the chair, you go, and then you just gently, put your one leg outside, gravity will take you over and you will start falling. I thought it was crazy, so I made the point. You don't need to do anything. You just purify yourself, rest will happen. And the third example is that something which is already there, but I cannot see it because the lake is dirty, it has algae in it, it has all the dirt. पानी जितना clear होता जाएगा वो bottom अपने आप ही दिखाई देगा. So that's what it is in this journey. Is our job is to keep purifying our mind. The rest will just happen.
The stanza concludes with a prayer rising from the very bottom of the kind heart of Sri Dharmaraj, and he says, "May we have many inquirers like thee." This is the ardent cry of all true teachers who are blessed with innate and irresistible missionary zeal. With this ideal in mind, when we look around, if we can rarely see a true teacher among our schoolmasters, it is a sad commentary on the disgusting fall of not only the teacher class, but also of the very spirit of the community of the taught. These are the days when the very schoolmasters strike their work, demanding more pay. Naturally, the world of students also must come to look down upon the teachers as their paid servants, who shall serve their paymasters, the taught, as it pleases them.
So he's just telling you that it is a very, very high thing, to be a teacher, because if you just make it like a vyapar, then you cannot go to the higher. And we have seen that if you really love to teach something, कोई अच्छा student आ जाए तो you feel so amazing, So that's what he's just saying, that the true teacher, they just love when the right students come, and that is, he's just feeling so thrilled and giving him compliments and all that. And through all these verses, we are understanding more deeply what Brahma Vidya is before we get into it, You can call it an advertisement. You can call it that by doing all these verses, we are kind of more eager to learn now, this kind of thing. And then how lucky we are that, we are getting to learn this. So this is what is. Any question, comment? We finished on time today. I was thinking 12:15 and it was even earlier. So we can even still have some 10 minutes for discussion. Anything related to these verses? Anybody has anything?
Or you can leave early, Umaji, because today is a very special day for you.
Thank you so much.
We can discuss next time.
That's fine, but it's okay.
Absolutely, totally agree with Meera.
See, the thing is, I told my son I cannot do anything until I get that vaccination anyway. So you know what I'm saying? So I have to just my plan is to go get the vaccination, then I'm going to drive to his house.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that appointment is like at a fixed thing. And I looked at GPS and it will take me about, say, half an hour. So I'm okay. I planned it, everything like that. So I'm not rushed or anything like that at all. Yeah. So, yeah, anybody's comments or any question is welcome.
So this is not related to our Geeta study today, but you had mentioned that chap from Sweden who is in Haridwar at the moment. So my brother said one of his friends owns a fast food vegetarian restaurant in Haridwar on the main street. I think it's called Propello or something. And this chap sits outside. People want to take pictures with him. So what he started was buy a coupon to give a meal to one of the sadhus. And I will take pictures with you, and he has discussions with them. And they have over 20 at any given time coupons to feed the sadhus.
Amazing. Very nice.
This is what this chap is doing. People are inviting him to his home, to their homes. Mm-hmm. And he's just helping with the coupons and feeding sadhus.
Amazing. Very nice. Yeah. There are a lot of good people in this world.
Yeah.
And once they
with the idea.
Yeah. If they purify their mind, they automatically that seva bhav comes in their mind. How do I help people? And then he'll find ways to do it for sure. Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt that because he's Caucasian, people are drawn towards him with his speaking in Sanskrit and Hindi and all. But once they're with him, they're very happy to be in his company.
Yeah, I was amazed at how his grammar and everything was so right.
Yeah.
He really got the mastery of the language. And it's not that easy from somebody, different culture, different thing, but you really want to do it. Anybody else has anything? Okay, I guess you guys really want me to go. So I appreciate that, everybody's cooperation.
दादी माँ को लेट नहीं जाना.
दादी माँ खुद ही बहुत excited है, तो लेट नहीं होगी.
Of course, something to be excited.
Yeah. Okay, then we can close the class. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kashchid dukha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, so next week I will see you at the